How was there ever a war in heaven? Now, I've had discussions about this before, but we're going to have another one because I want to ask you guys to think about something very seriously, very deeply, that does not make any sense with the ideas of this God and this biblical narrative. When this God so-called created the heavens and the heavens were made perfect. His angels was in heaven with him, all perfect. Now I know that Christians say that there will be a new heaven because that heaven got spoiled. And we'll get to that, of how that heaven got spoiled. But he created a heaven, seemingly perfect, him and his angels. But then there was a war in heaven. And this war broke out in heaven, and so-called a third of the angels joined up with Lucifer, who is not the devil, but Lucifer. And they all fought against this God and fell to earth. And maybe the reason that the Bible says in the beginning, God created, they said, let there be light. And when he been creating, his breath fluttered above the waters because the earth was in chaos. And maybe the falling of these angels, it would put the earth in chaos. That would make some sense. You'd have to agree with the book of Enoch and add that into your belief system in order for you to accept that. But maybe that's why the earth was in chaos. And he began to build on the earth, and he said that everything was good. You may try to separate the words good and perfect, but he said everything is good. So if God said it's good, then it must be good, right? But there was this war in heaven. You can only imagine that the reason why they had this war in heaven would be because of what I want you to think deeply. Then we'll get back to this question, this statement he made. And that is this picture that happened to come up right when I saw this guy's comment. When Satan was still an angel and there was no such thing as Satan/evil, who tempted him? Now she says that it can only be the one who created good and evil. As Isaiah 45:7 says, God says that I create good, I create evil. So if God created the good and the evil, and then Satan rebelled against him because he wanted to be God, as people say that's the reason, then you're saying that God tempted Lucifer or Satan into rebellion, and that rebellion caused a third of the angels to fall down to earth. So the cause of the destruction of the first heaven and the chaotic form of earth was done so by God himself through his temptation of Lucifer. Now you have to ask the question, why would God tempt his angels? That just seems to not make any sense now, does it? Because we go back to what my man here is talking about. That if this God was the one who tempted Lucifer, and this God is the one who created the evil, then the angels, the 1/3 of the angels, plus Lucifer/Satan/whoever else you want to merge it together with, must have had free will in order for them to rebel against this God. And if these angels all had free will to follow Lucifer, to follow Satan, and rebel against this God, then these 1/3 of the angels, which would number in the billions, then they all had free will. So why is it that when you go to this new heaven, would you not also have free will? Or are you just a slave once you get to heaven? Now, most of the time, Christians will say that, oh, no, you're going to be so happy, so joyful, so in love with God that you are going to never want to rebel against this God. But I want you to think about, if you have free will in heaven and what you're doing in heaven is all day praising this God, all eternity, every moment praising this God. Although the tree of life will produce fruit in season, and you're eating from this fruit to maintain your human body that you're supposed to be taking up to heaven, because you're going to have a new body according to this. But you're going to remember who you are, know who you are. That means you're going to remember your family and your friends and all those other people who didn't make it. You're going to recognize that there were people who was born into other religions and they grew up in that religion, never heard of your Jesus. But even if they had, heard of your Jesus, just as you were indoctrinated into your religion by your culture or your family or your surroundings, so was the kid in Malaysia indoctrinated into Islam, surrounded by Islam. All things of his culture were Islamic oriented. So why would that child convert over to Christianity when they were indoctrinated in the same way that you were indoctrinated? But I can ask the question, why didn't you convert over to Islam once you heard about the Quran? You see, the same thing flips back and forth. Oh, well, mine is correct. Oh, but they will say that theirs is correct. No true Muslim says that theirs is not correct. No true Christian says that theirs is not correct. No true Hindu says that theirs is not correct. You all say that your stuff is correct. But if you have that type of free will in heaven, what's preventing you from feeling the remorse and the anguish, the pain and the suffering of the fact that you know that there are an uncountable number of people who are being tormented for all eternity in a lake of fire? That the first children, a third of the first children of this God, are being tormented in this lake of fire for all eternity. That you will not sit there in fear of this God and say that, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. The first children, they disobeyed. They used their free will and they didn't like being with this God. And he burned them for all eternity. Second go around, I didn't fall for it. But everybody who did, they're burning in eternity. So I'm going to sit here in fear and stay in this enslavement and not worry about it and just be happy I'm not burning. That's your free will in heaven. Other than that, you would have to be in a state of slavery without, and I'm talking about the mental slavery where you don't have free will, where you are a robot, an automaton. And if that's heaven, being an automaton, you can have it. And if heaven is being in fear of this God, because you've seen on two occasions those who disobey him and don't like him, that his response is not love, but his response is to torture them for all eternity. You can have that, God. I'll take the burning, even though I know that's all a myth, just like your heaven is a myth. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.